Welcome into Payoff Pitch, Action Network's MLB betting podcast. We are presented by BetMGM. It's your Friday crew, Brendan Glasheen, joined by Charlie DiSturco and Anthony DiBundo. We join you every Monday, Tuesday, and Friday during the baseball season. We've appreciated all of the highly rated ratings that you've left behind, 5-star ratings. Please leave a review as well and subscribe to Payoff Pitch if you haven't done so already. Let's get into the best bets. 15-game slate. Everyone's in action. Short slate on Thursday. Travel day for most of the league. First action starts at 6:35 with Diamondbacks and Pirates. And then we've got several games starting in that 8 o'clock, 9 o'clock hour, so on and so forth. Charlie DiSturco, making headlines these days. I'm just teasing you. Best bet for Friday, please.
Yeah, making headlines in a different sport, but my best bet today, Miami, San Francisco over 7.5. The wind is blowing out 25 miles an hour to dead center, left center, dead center. Based on a 71 game sample size of Roto-Grinders Weather Edge, that's a 20% increase in home runs expected, as well as a 13% increase in runs. Sandy Alcantara on the mound, Brendan's favorite last name in baseball. He's not the same pitcher last year. He's relying more on his sinker, not really generating as many ground balls, and his expected batting average has jumped to 262 as opposed to 215 last year. His expected slugging up to 400. That's the highest since 2019. Yeah, it's just a lot. Sandy's just not the same pitcher he was. You overwork him for 2 years of 200 plus innings, and we've seen, the Marlins continue to throw him out there in the 7th and 8th inning when he just doesn't have the same stuff the third time through the order. It's the biggest difference that I've seen. He's got a 298 batting average against third time through the order. Last year, that was 239. So he's really struggling as he goes deeper into the games. And the Giants, they're in their positive split here, their preferred split. A lot of lefties in their lineup, so they crush right-handed pitching. They're 7th WRC plus and 3rd in isolated power against right-handed pitching. And then on the opposite side, Anthony DeSclafani, he's not walking as many batters this year, but his strikeout rate declined once again. He's not generating swings and misses. His expected ERA is nearly a run higher than actual. So it's been a lot of his success has come from a byproduct of good BABIP luck. He has a 258 batting average on balls in play versus a 270 expected batting average. So even though the Marlins offense can be spotty at times, I think they're going to get things going. Brian De La Cruz has been hitting incredible as of late. Luis Arraez obviously hitting in that 2, 3, 4 spot. Going to be able to, he always puts the ball in play. So I think the Marlins are going to put some runs on the board. I think the Giants are able to get to Sandy Alcantara. So 7.5. It's just way too low for me.
Alcantara went 7 2/3 last start, but he allowed 6 runs, home run allowed. He walked a couple, struck out 9. He's been eating the innings, right? But giving up that last start against Cincinnati was alarming. That play, by the way, the 7.5 over is plus money right now at BetMGM. You can get it at plus 100. There you go. Even money, plus 100. You don't have to lay the juice. Anthony DiBundo, as you both know, with newspaper backgrounds, the news cycle continues. Let's not forget, DiBundo, just a few days ago on Tuesday, we had a great Tuesday on Payoff Pitch, our last pod, and Dinger Tuesday was very successful. So, DiBundo, I want to pump your tires too, not just Sturco. What do you got, Anthony, for a best bet on this Friday?
Yeah, Arenado, good call. Mountcastle gets the day off, comes in to play in like the 4th inning and hits a homer, which is quite the luck box. But we will take that as a great day. I'm going to go with and this is an ugly one, under 9 in the Mets-Guardians game tonight. Cal Quantrill against Carlos Carrasco, 2 pitchers that I've generally looked to fade in past times and would generally have looked to fade coming in. And when I originally thought that the line was going to be 8, maybe 8.5, I would have taken the over, but all the way up at 9 now, which is a key number, of course. And given the weather conditions at Citi Field tonight, I like the under here. And I also think that these lineups project well to save these pitchers a little bit because we've seen from Carrasco as his stuff has gotten worse, his home runs have gone up. Home runs allowed per 9, up near 1.8 this year. Last year, he was a little better, but 2 years ago when he first came back from the injury, home runs were a big issue for him, and his peripherals were okay and somewhat serviceable. Now, the strikeout minus walk is through the floor, and so that is concerning, but coming off the injury, we don't know what his stuff will look like. There is certainly the risk that it won't be very good, but he gets to face a Guardians lineup that is dead last in ISO and dead last in WRC plus that will not have, it looks like, again, Jose Ramirez. due to he's had to go to the DR for bereavement, lost his grandmother. And it doesn't seem like he's gonna be back till Saturday or Sunday. And so this Guardians lineup just doesn't have power. And trying to rely on a bunch of balls in play in a very cold hitting environment in Citi Field tonight. We're talking temperatures in the 50s at first pitch, getting even colder as we get into the game. It's just not conducive to a total at 9 at Citi Field. So I like the under here. Quantrill has not been good either. You won't hear me make the case for Quantrill, but the Mets offense has similar problems right now, I think, to the Guardians, that they're just not really slugging. Outside of Pete, the ISO is in the bottom 7, and that's with the guy leading the league in home runs in the lineup. So I like the under here. It's a hold your nose play. Hopefully that, these guys only go 4 or 5 innings. We can get to the bullpens. I also think it's a good live under game. The minute that, Quantrill and Carrasco are out, look to play a live under potentially as well if it's over 9, because I do think these bullpens match up decently well.
Okay. So you'd rather take the full game because you trust the bullpens and you're hoping these guys get out early, because the first 5 totals 4.5. Yeah,
I like the full game more than the first 5.
Very good. And by the way, Carrasco returns to the rotation. It was his right elbow swelling with a bone chip. Sounds brutal. But, Charlie thinks the Mets are back. So
this is the Cookie Carrasco revenge game. So
he's the saving grace.
He's not going to give up any runs because he's playing his former team. I'm going to pull out my inner BJ Cunningham. I mean, DeBundo, listen, Brett Beatty is going to start hitting home runs. They just brought up Mark Vientos, Francisco Alvarez, all the power in the world. I mean, you're just sleeping on the New York Mets and their offense. Listen, 2 out of 3 of the Rays, that walk-off home run by Pete 2 days ago has me feeling some type of way. So the World Series is back on.
Just see him with his arms folded, looks down. He goes, "Look, guys, Carlos Carrasco's a good pitcher." And then he looks up and he stares into the camera with vindication for
Chris Sale's velocity has actually been up. We're not going to discuss him today because he's not pitching, but Sale's velocity has been up. That is interesting to me.
That's a bingo card if you heard the name drop of Chris Sale on a Payoff Pitch podcast.
All right, we're looking at fading the public or not. Let's find out. We look at the Action app to see where the cash is coming in, percentage of bets, and one game that jumps out to us, Twins Angels. The public loves Minnesota, 87% of the bets, 92% of the dollars on the Twins. Angels coming off that series against Baltimore. Are we fading the public? Are we backing the Angels on a Friday night, Charlie?
I think it's Twins or anything for me in this matchup, but I'm looking toward the first 5 under 4.5 or 4. Doesn't matter to me. Joe Ryan is incredible. DeBundo's talked about it all season long. Just to quickly touch on him, he's in the top 1% of chase rate, a near 30% strikeout rate, a 2.14 expected ERA. I mean, he's limiting barrels. He's as legit as they come. Every single number across the board for Joe Ryan is great. And Reed Detmers, I'm expecting a bit of positive regression from him. He's shored up his barrel rate from last season. He's still getting hit hard at times, but you're seeing kind of an increase in strikeouts. He's getting BABIP to death, the 372 batting average on balls in play, and a left on base percentage of 63.5. So he's been quite unfortunate, just giving up a lot of runs at bad times and not able to strand runners. He does have a 257 expected batting average, so expecting better numbers from him. Just in this game, the weather, it's just about average conditions. So there's not an expected increase in home runs, not a decrease. But Minnesota, they're in their negative split against the left-handed pitching. They're actually 26th in WRC plus against lefties. Other than Byron Buxton, I'm not sure, especially with Carlos Correa struggling, there's much from that Twins offense against lefties. And then the Angels, they're outside of the top 10. They're 11th in WRC plus against right-handed pitching, but it's Joe Ryan. Both bullpens have been pitching decently well. So I'm going to avoid the bullpen blow up that, we almost saw last night with the Angels against the Orioles, and just struggle and just taking the first 5 under 4.5 here. Ryan Detmers expecting a great low scoring game here.
DeBundo, Joe Ryan's AL Cy Young odds have been halved and then some. When you look around,
fourth best.
That's right. It's a good sign. He's only trailing. I just had it up here a second ago.
Cole, Ohtani, and McClanahan.
Correct. Cole, Cole, McClanahan, Ohtani, just going in the order of the odds. And there's Joe Ryan at 12-1. Woo! Is there an angle you'd like to play on the Twins to avoid having to fade the public, or do you do like the Angels possibly?
I'll be riding with Joe Public, Barney at the bar. We're all going to be on the Twins, at least in the first 5 for me, minus 130. I think that these two guys, I don't disagree with Charlie's pick either. Ryan and Detmers are two of the biggest stuff plus gainers year over year. Detmers throwing harder. Ryan throwing the splitter that's been really, really impressive and really good, and getting more ride on movement on his slider as well. So all signs point upward for both of these guys. But I like Ryan a little bit more, and I like the Twins lineup a little bit more. Ryan has the fourth best strikeout minus walk rate in the league. The thing about Detmers, and I like him a lot, but he does sometimes struggle with walks, and that can hurt him in this matchup. Twins are about average in terms of O-swing and patience portfolio, but they do have some positive regression coming for this offense. They're in the top 6 in underperforming expected batting results this season. So I like the Twins in the first 5. We're riding with Ryan again. And yeah, hopefully another good start for Joe, and he can continue his Cy Young campaign. I really think the only 2 guys who are going to end up ahead of him, if we were voting now, if Ohtani gets the MVP, which he's very likely to do, I think it's, he's going to be in that top 3 or 4 guys at the end of the year. And George Kirby also.
Yeah, 17, I was going to say.
Kirby.
17.
And we just need Garrett Cole to develop that home run problem again at the end of games. And Shane McClanahan to, I don't mean this with ill intent, for him to maybe get banged up. And then you're.
Whoa, I love Shane, but I mean, Shane did regress second half of last season. He struggled a little bit.
I'll put it to you like this. Maybe they'll manage him so they can save him for the end of the year. And then that will amp up Joe Ryan even more.
He's pitching today too.
Okay, there you go. And the Rays possibly in a bounce back spot after losing to the Mets yesterday.
World Series, New York Mets, yeah.
Right. Yeah. Sorry, I forgot that.
Yeah.
Murillo still thinks they're going to miss the playoffs.
I also bet that a couple weeks ago, so I'm anti-Mets.
And just to kind of bring the point home, DeBundo, if you missed it, gave out Joe Ryan 30-1 Cy Young on the pod. So 12-1 now when you look around. Okay, very good. Let's move on to underdogs. Again, start of a series for most teams tonight. So a travel day yesterday. Where are we looking in the underdog market, Charlie?
Yeah, this is a battle of Bryces, Mariners, Braves. And if you followed me at all this season, I've been fading Bryce Elder and for the most part getting the shit end of that stick. Bryce Elder, the luckiest pitcher in baseball, a 1.94 ERA, expected ERA near over 2.5 runs higher at 4.56. He ranks in the bottom 10% of all pitchers in hard hit rate. That's near 50%. Has been significantly worse from last year when he first came up into the bigs. Has some command issues. You look at just his numbers across the board. Barrel rate near 10%. Expected batting average 267. Expected slugging 423. Yet he has an 86.6 left on base rate. Has been able to get out of jams consistently. It's been super aggravating, but there's going to be a time where Bryce does not get this luck of BABIP or luck of double play balls or strikeouts when there's runners in scoring position, and it's all going to come to bite him. I like him coming tonight against the Mariners. Bryce Miller on the mound opposite him has been incredible since he got called up. A 198 expected batting average, a 265 expected ERA. He doesn't walk any batters, a 1.6 walk rate. So I love the Mariners as an underdog here. I think this game is closer to a pick 'em. Obviously, the Braves offense is always scary, but they're actually in their worst split. They're 16th in WRC plus against right-handed pitching, 2nd against left-handed, and their bullpen as their top 5. Seattle's also top 5. So I like Seattle. I trust them to secure the lead and keep the lead going if Bryce Miller is able to outduel Bryce Elder. And I think it's going to happen. Elder's due to get blown up eventually. So going to take a stab here with the Mariners at plus money and might even add on their team total over as well.
DeBundo, where are we looking in the underdog market today?
Yeah, I just want to make another comment about the Mariners because I do agree with Charlie. Elder is an interesting portfolio because he doesn't throw hard. He throws a very soft fastball, doesn't get a lot of whiffs. So how is he getting away with it? He is the 3rd lowest zone rate in Major League Baseball. Corbin Burns is lowest, 3rd lowest Bryce Elder. So he throws very few pitches in the zone. He's a nibbler, and he avoids. He tries to avoid hard contact by generating swings on pitches outside of the zone. He's still getting hit decently hard, like Charlie said. But the Mariners are a very, very patient lineup, one of the fewest and lowest chase rates in Major League Baseball. And so I don't love that matchup for him. They have a couple guys who chase a lot. I mean, Julio's been chasing, Teoscar's been chasing, but from an entire lineup perspective, I do think it's a decent matchup for the Mariners because of that low O swing and the fact that they're not going to chase a ton and that they do generally draw more walks than average. So that could be a problem for Elder here. His walk rate's not necessarily elevated, but it will be interesting to watch. This game, I also agree with the Mariners. Miller's been dynamic. I like the Cardinals, and I know it's ugly with Steven Matz on the mound, but I think that they have a split advantage here with the Dodgers against lefties. The Dodgers rank second in WRC plus against righties. They have dominated righties for the better part of this entire era, but they've always had a little bit of a hole against left-handed pitching. 21st this year. They were about 15th last year. It's been a consistent trend with them. Also, Mookie Betts potentially could miss. It didn't seem serious with Betts, but he could miss tonight potentially. So that's one thing to keep an eye on with the Dodgers. But I like the Cardinals plus 110 at home in that matchup. That offense is really starting to hum now. Arenado has obviously figured out his early season woes. Contreras joining the classic, joining the new team tax. You see guys struggle early. He's really broken out now. And then Gorman, Nootbaar, Yepez. Yepez won't play tonight necessarily, but Nootbaar and Gorman especially have really had strong rises here in the last few weeks. So I'm impressed by this Cardinals lineup. I continue to buy their lineup. I just don't know that they have the pitching. But tonight at home as a dog to the Dodgers, I like them plus 110.
They've won 9 of 11 since losing 8 straight. I want to ask both of you this. Are you taking the cheese on them plus 275 to win the division, or is it still Milwaukee? We'll go to Bundo first on this one.
I think Milwaukee's fraudulent, so I continue to look to wait for the Cubs and the Cardinals to make their moves. I think they're going to both make a move here coming up. So I'm interested in the Cardinals. I'm interested in the Cubs.
By move, you mean like an acquisition or
like a move up the standings?
Oh, got it. Okay.
Yeah.
I bet the Brewers preseason plus 175 to win the Central. I'm gonna continue to ride that. I like it. It's just I think there's so many holes on every single team. Like the Cardinals pitching is just a disaster. Their starting pitching. Do not think they'll end up having the wherewithal to keep it and end up contending in the Central. And then the Cubs, that hit or miss. I just think that the Brewers are a more well-rounded team. Their offense obviously has some issues, but that Woodruff has not pitched and they're still having a good lead in Central. So I am gonna continue to just like ride out my future on the Brewers.
Okay. Yeah, I will say I feel worse about the Brewers just because of this Woodruff injury. The weird conversations that have been happening around it make me seem like he may not pitch until like August. And Burns is just stuff is down too. I mean, he's been getting hit a little bit more. His velocity is down, his spin rates are down. So there's some concerns with the top end of that rotation. And then like in a battle of lineups, I will take the Cardinals for sure. Now,
yeah.
Rotation. Flaherty did just have his best start. He did, and but here's the thing: his velocity was actually up, and like the best velocity he's had, best stuff plus he's had all year, came in the last start. It's one start, I know, but if the fastball velocity is back and the strikeouts are back, then like Flaherty is going to be a good mid-level starter.
Yeah, but the rest of the team, like Steven Matz, garbage. Obviously, like tonight's not a bad, awful matchup, but Adam Wainwright might as well be in a retirement home. There's just like.
Himself. Yeah,
there's just I just don't know if the Cardinals can compete every game scoring 6, 7, 8 runs when their starting pitchers are going to do that. Their bullpen's really good. So is Milwaukee's. I don't know. For me, it's yes, the Milwaukee offense is a bit concerning at times, and it gets aggravating throughout the season to watch them lose these close games when they shouldn't be. And Burns is stuff being down is not great, but I just think that like this division has a bunch of like very average teams. And I don't know if anyone is going to end up dethroning the Brewers, who I think are the most well-rounded and capable of winning.
They've got 3 left this weekend with the Dodgers, and their schedule softens. They're on the road a bunch. At Cincinnati for 4, at Cleveland, 2-game home set with Kansas City. They go to Pittsburgh. Maybe they're just an over team. Maybe that's the appropriate play. You just play some overs on the
first 5, especially with their bullpens.
Yep.
Yeah, their bullpen's not bad.
Okay. All right. Cardinals, they're hot, but the guys aren't buying it just yet.
Well, DeBundo is.
DeBundo is, I guess. Yeah.
I mean, I'm invested in the Cardinals already at like plus 150, so I don't have a great number there, but
okay.
I just like the offense too much.
Okay. Well, you have a couple more bets, final bets for the Friday slate. It's a big one, but the guys don't have too much, and that's okay. Because, we're going to give out the stuff they're going to bet, right? So, Charlie, you can go first. You've got one more, and then I think DeBundo's got one more too.
Yeah, only one bet for the rest of the slate. The over in Philly, Chicago. I'm fine with taking the plus money on the 9. Marcus Stroman is a luck box in and of itself. One of the pitchers I love to fade. An expected ERA of 4.5, despite an ERA down over a run lower at 3.24. He struggles with command at times. He's got a 275 expected batting average and near 400 expected slugging, and he doesn't generate swings and misses. So, like the Phillies here, getting to him, they're 8th in WRC plus against right-handed pitching. So a plus matchup for them. And Stroman has the best left on base percentage he's had since 2017. So expect that to negatively regress. Opposite him, Ranger Suarez wasn't great in his first start. I think he's going to need a couple to kind of get back to his old form. So I'm going to fade him early here. Didn't really generate swings and misses last year, and he struggled against the Colorado offense this season. So with the Cubs likely getting Nico Herner back, they're 4th in WRC plus against left-handed pitching. So they're in their positive split. I think they're going to get to Ranger Suarez, who might have a quick hook regardless. And then it's that middle of the pack Phillies bullpen. And DeBundo and I were talking before the show, possibly no Cody Bellinger again, which if he does not play, obviously that lefty-lefty matchup is a plus. And then his defense is such a huge plus in center that it could lead to an extra couple of runs or a misplay. So like the over here, wind blowing nearly double digits out at Citizens Bank Park. So we love to see that. And I think a lot of runs come through.
Okay, DeBundo, I think you've got a couple more, or you're reiterating a few that Charlie's on.
Yeah, well, I talked about the Mariners and why I like their matchup against Elder. I like Miller's stuff, his fastballs, really doing a nice job locating them up in the zone. Atlanta's offense can slug, and so this will be a real test for Miller, but bullpen advantage for Seattle as well. I like the Mariners. I guess I could talk Phillies. It looks like Herner is back. Bellinger's questionable, leaning toward playing. That's a big change for the Cubs. Stroman will either get rocked or he will throw 6 innings in about 58 pitches, given the Phillies swing rates. They've been very aggressive at the plate. But yes, the wind blowing out at Citizens Bank Park, massive toward the total, second most wind adjusted park in baseball after Wrigley, and wind 10 miles an hour out to left center tonight. So should be a good one there. Suarez stuff was down in his first outing back. It was at Coors, which tends to mess with the model, but I do like Suarez long-term, not necessarily short-term. So don't disagree with Charlie, and then agree with him. I faded Sandy every start this year. I like the over more than I like the Giants in this one. So I'm going to go with over 7.5 even money with DeSclafani and Alcantara.
Yeah, and the Giants are at minus 120 on the money line. So price doesn't jump out to either of the guys. Over again, 7.5. As we record to you on a Friday morning is at even money, plus 100, over 7.5 runs. All right, gents, good work. If we have any bonus bets this weekend, bet responsibly and have fun with that. All right, Charlie?
Yes, sir.
All right. Don't forget to follow Charlie DiSturco, Anthony DeBundo, and the award-winning Action Network app. Okay, we are done. We're back Monday morning. Zerillo and BJ should be back on Monday. Thanks to these two guys, for David behind the scenes. Thanks for listening, everybody, to Payoff Pitch, Action Network's MLB betting podcast presented by BetMGM. Have a fabulous weekend.